The second truth about the bleeding healer is this. When you build your identity around being the expert, asking for help feels like admitting you're a fraud. So you bleed out in public while calling it empowerment. Here's what people don't tell you about being the person everyone comes to for answers. It's isolating. Not in the obvious way. You're surrounded by people. You have clients, friends, followers, people who need you, want your advice, value your expertise. But emotionally, spiritually, you're alone. Because when you're an expert, you don't get to be human. You don't get to be confused. You don't get to struggle. You don't get to not have the answers. When you're the healer, you don't get to be wounded. When you're the therapist, you don't get to be the one falling apart. When you're the woman teaching everyone else about emotional health, you don't get to admit you're barely holding it together. Because admitting that would shatter the image. It would undermine your credibility. It would make people question whether you actually know what you're talking about. So you don't admit it. You don't ask for help. You don't let anyone see that beneath the credentials and the expertise, you're struggling too. Instead, you perform, you maintain the image, you show up as the person who has it together, even when you're falling apart inside. And here's the trap. The longer you perform, the more isolated you become, because no one sees the real you. No one knows you're struggling. No one can help you because you won't let them see that you need help. So you end up in this strange position, surrounded by people who trust you, value you, need you, but completely alone because none of them actually know you. They know the expert, the healer, the woman with the answers. They don't know the woman behind the identity, the woman who's scared, confused, desperate for validation, bleeding out from wounds she can't acknowledge. So think about Dr. Cheyenne's position. She's a therapist, a relationship expert, someone people pay for guidance. What happens if she admits she's struggling? What happens if she's, I'm desperate for male attention? What happens if she acknowledges, I'm performing confidence, but I'm terrified of not enough? Her credibility suffers, her professional image cracks. People start questioning whether she's qualified to help them if she can't even help herself. So she doesn't admit it. She can't admit it because her entire identity, her career, her income, her sense of purpose is built on being the person who's figured it out. But the wound doesn't care about her professional image. The wound doesn't care about her credentials. The wound doesn't care about any of that. The wound just keeps bleeding. And when you can't acknowledge a wound, when you can't ask for help, when you can't be vulnerable about what you're actually experiencing, the wound finds other ways to express itself. For Dr. Cheyenne, it expressed itself through a dress that communicated everything she couldn't say directly, a dress that screamed for attention in a way her professional persona would never allow, a dress that said, see me, want me, validate that I'm still desirable. But because she can't acknowledge what the dress is actually communicating, she has to reframe it. She has to call it something else. So it becomes empowerment. It becomes body positivity. It becomes, I can wear what I want. And maybe those things are partially true. Maybe there is an element of freedom in the choice. But beneath that freedom is often something more desperate, a wound that can't be acknowledged, expressing itself in the only way it can. And this happens, or this is what happens when asking for help feels like admitting you're a fraud. You find indirect ways to get your needs met. You scream for help in ways that don't look like asking for help. You bleed out in public while calling it something like empowering. Think about your own life. How many times have you performed strength when you are actually falling apart? How many times have you maintained the image of having it together because admitting you didn't felt too vulnerable? How many times have you screamed for help in indirect ways through your behavior, your choices, your relationships, because directly asking felt impossible? This is the isolation of the expert. You're surrounded by people, but no one can help you because you won't let them see that you need help. You've built an identity around being the strong one, the wise one, the one with answers, and that identity becomes a prison that prevents you from ever being vulnerable enough to receive support. So you carry your wounds alone, you manage your pain privately, you bleed out quietly while maintaining the public image of someone who's thriving, until the bleeding becomes too much, until the wound gets so big you can't hide it anymore, until it expresses itself in ways you can't control. A dress, a breakdown, a public moment that reveals what you've been hiding. And even then, even when the wound is visible, you can't acknowledge it. Because acknowledging it would mean admitting you're not who you've claimed to be. It would mean shattering the identity you've built your entire life around. So you double down. You defend your behavior. You reframe it as intentional, empowering, exactly what you're meant to do. You perform confidence about the very thing that revealed your desperation. And the isolation deepens because now you're not just hiding the wound, you're defending it, you're protecting it, you're ensuring that no one can help you heal because you're insisting it's not actually a wound. And this is the second truth. You know, when you build your identity around being the expert, asking for help feels like admitting you're a fraud. So you bleed out in public through your behavior, your choices, your desperate attempts to get needs met, while calling it empowering or empowerment. And the isolation of never being able to be vulnerable ensures the wound never heals.